Ever stumble across those online business pitches that promise like the holy grail, no overhead, total freedom, and a built-in community?
Hmm.
Well, buckle up because today we're doing a deep dive into one of those models. And this one's all about building a business around an online school.
Good.
Now, I gotta say, the pitch is pretty enticing. I mean, it really speaks to that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Especially if you're, someone who's dreaming of ditching that 9 to 5 grind.
Right.
And the whole idea of building a community around around your expertise, that's got a certain appeal to it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. There's a real draw to that. But you got to remember that no business model is without its complexities. You know what I mean? It's not all sunshine and roses.
Right, right. And this one is no exception. Like one thing that really jumped out at me with this pitch was this whole competitive element that's baked right in. Top performers win a trip to Vegas. There are leaderboards tracking everyone's progress.
Mm.
So it makes you wonder, how does that competitive spirit, how does that affect the actual learning environment?
That is a really important question.
Yeah.
See, because this model is really big on the whole community-driven thing.
Yeah.
So imagine it like this. Everyone's success is kind of tied together, which can be great for motivation, for support.
Right. You're all in it together.
Exactly. But whenever you've got a community, especially one with that competitive edge, well, there's always the flip side.
It's a double-edged sword. You've got the good and the bad. And speaking of navigating potentially tricky waters, they offer a 14-day free trial, which, sounds great on the surface, but is that really enough time to figure out if the platform's a good fit for you?
You are right to be asking that question about the 14-day trial. I mean, it's a tactic, right, to, create that sense of urgency, that FOMO. But you can use these trials strategically. Instead of getting swept up, use that time to really look for certain things, look for proof. Like, are there success stories from other students?
Right, you need to see the receipts.
Exactly. Are the community forums active? Are people actually engaged?
Yeah, yeah.
And what about the platform's features? Is there enough detailed information? Don't be afraid to really dig in and even, ask some tough questions in the community.
Don't be shy. That's good advice. Now, this pitch, much like a lot of them in the online business world, they use language like changing someone's life or giving you all the tools you need to succeed. It's powerful stuff. But how do we know how much of that is genuine and how much is just, marketing hype?
Yeah, that's a common thread for sure. And I mean, in theory, a strong community can absolutely be transformative. There's that potential there.
Yeah.
What's key here is to look beyond those buzzwords. Look, ask yourself, do the testimonials feel authentic? Are there actual people? Are they genuinely supporting each other's growth? That's the real litmus test. That's how you separate the hype from the real deal.
You got to cut through the noise. Now, let's break down this business model a bit. So you are basically creating your own online school, using their platform, their tools, and then tapping into their existing community, which, could be great for support, maybe even a bit of friendly competition, right?
Right.
So from your perspective, what would you say are the biggest potential benefits and drawbacks for someone who's, thinking about taking the leap with this kind of model?
Okay, so the benefits, they are pretty attractive. Like the barrier to entry is pretty low, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to build everything from the ground up. And then you've got that potential for community support. And you also usually have access to the creator, to their knowledge. So that's pretty cool. But of course, there are some downsides to think about too.
Sure.
Like one of the big ones is you're really relying on their platform.
Right.
You're playing by their rules.
Yeah.
Which, might change. What happens if they decide to change their terms of service?
Or the platform goes belly up.
Exactly. That's a lot of eggs in one basket.
That's a really good point about sustainability. I mean, so many online ventures, they struggle to make it past that initial hype phase.
That's right.
People need to see that there's a long-term plan, that there's some adaptability there.
For sure. And, you mentioned the competition aspect, and that's something else to be mindful of. Because a little competition is good, right? It can push you. But when it's the main focus, it can actually become counterproductive.
Yeah, yeah.
So ideally, you want a community that really prioritizes collaboration and genuine support, not just a race to the finish line.
That's a good point to end on, I think, because this deep dive, it's really highlighted both like the exciting parts of this business model, but also the potential downsides. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. If you were the one building this online school community, what would you do differently? What values, what features would you put in place to make sure that it's actually successful? And I mean successful both for the creator and the participants.
Something to think about, right?